Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. Finding real gold in fool's gold. Let's explore! Bet you never would have thought you'd hear that headline. All these years, we've been made fools of, thinking that there was no real gold inside of fool's gold. And, well, it turns out science is starting to think differently. What you're looking at here is a Madrid, Spain version of pyrite, as attached to a limestone or a rock here of some sort. Looks like limestone or something, but this is one of the various different forms that pyrite can take. Pyrite typically has very, very sharp corners and really interesting designs, and it's a beautiful mineral for sure. But nothing really matches the beauty of gold itself. And here is a Credit Suisse 1/2 ounce gold bar, quite of heft. And by the way, gold is actually, even though it's a metal, it's also considered a mineral. But let's take a look here. This was shared with me by several members of the community. And as some of you know that I like to talk about stories like this, science and precious metals is another intriguing thing that I like to discuss and talk about on the channel. And this is a article that comes to us from phys.org. Curtin University research has found tiny amounts of gold can be trapped inside pyrite, commonly known as fool's gold, which would make it much more valuable than its name suggests. The study, published in the journal Geology in collaboration with the University of Western Australia and the China University of Geoscience, provides an in-depth analysis to better understand the mineralogical location of the trapped gold in pyrite, which may lead to a more environmentally friendly gold extraction methods. Lead researcher Dr. Dennis Fergios from Curtin School of Earth and Planetary Sciences said this new type of invisible gold was not previously been recognized and is only observable using a scientific instrument called an atom probe. So I think that's kind of the disclaimer here that, it's pretty much invisible unless you have one of these atom probes from which you can use to be able to discover, recognize, and identify the minute portions of the gold in there. But nonetheless, hey, that's just where it is, where we're at today in gold extraction, because how many tons of earth does it take to extract 1 ounce? It's a lot of earth for sure. The discovery rate of new gold deposits is in decline worldwide, with the quality of ore degrading parallel to the value of precious metal increasing, Dr. Fergios said. Previously, gold extractors have been able to find gold in pyrite either as nanoparticles or as a pyrite gold alloy. So it's already known that you can find them kind of together. But what we have discovered is that gold can also be hosted in nanoscale crystal defects, representing a new kind of invisible gold. So I wonder how much gold could be inside of this pyrite cube here. The more deformed the crystal is, the more gold there is locked up in defects. Well, I tell you what, this doesn't look very deformed. This looks pretty solid and geometric. Not much deformity at all, except for maybe that one little spot there, if that. So likely there's probably not much gold in that piece. The gold is hosted in nanoscale defects called dislocations, 100,000 times smaller than the width of a human hair. So a special technique called atom probe tomography is needed to observe it. Dr. Fogros said that the team also explored gold extraction methods and possible ways to obtain the trapped gold with less adverse effects on the environment. Generally, gold is extracted using pressure oxidizing techniques, which is similar to cooking, by the way, but this process is energy hungry. We wanted to look for an eco-friendlier way of extraction, Dr. Fergio said. We looked into an extraction process called selective leaching, using a fluid to selectively dissolve the gold from the pyrite. Not only do the dislocations trap the gold, but they also behave as fluid pathways that enable gold to be leached without affecting the entire pyrite. All right, well, that's interesting. Again, considering how they define imperfections, I don't know if there will be some inside of this piece or not, but nonetheless, it'd be an interesting experiment to see how much gold could come out of this. My guess is very, very little, probably enough to sit comfortably on one of these corners, and how much pyrite would be needed to create a whole half ounce of gold, like in this bar right here. That'd be interesting to find out. But this is quite intriguing, and just goes to show you that, hey, science will find a way to be able to extract gold, as it's becoming much more in demand these days, both by central banks, and the physical especially is quite sought after, especially with what's going on with Basel III and some of the new rules for unallocated gold. Well, pyrite could prove to be another avenue from which gold can be extracted while preserving the beauty of pyrite. You know, it's, again, you'd hate to destroy all that pyrite for a little tiny bit of gold. So I think that's quite an interesting article here, and I appreciate it being shared with me by several members of the community. And when you think about it, you know, hey, why do they call it fool's gold? Well, as you can see here, for those who maybe aren't familiar, there is somewhat of a similarity. It is kind of golden in color. Of course, in comparison to actual gold, you can see it's a vast difference here, but some people were fooled by it out in the field in the sunlight because it does really shine and it glows. And being attached to a rock like this, one might think, hey, it's a bit of gold there. I'm going to get that out. Of course, this unique piece of pyrite has that cube effect, but that is typical of some versions of it. It does tend to crystallize in that regard. But nonetheless, gold typically isn't found that way, so it tended to fool people back in the day when people were exploring and seeing it out there. And these pieces are relatively common in Spain, where you can get them in that regard. But gold, as you can see in its purest form, has that really bright yellow. But of course, gold found in nature is not going to be quite that pure. There are some nuggets in Western Australia that have been 23 karat gold, but even as such, you know, there's a little bit of imperfections and the like in there. So typically, it wouldn't look exactly like this. This is just an example to show you. But yeah, it's pretty intriguing to see, and I think it's quite interesting, and where science is leading us to be able to extract and to be able to get more of this unique precious metal out to the world, where the demand is quite high, not only for central banks but also for jewelry applications, for cultural appropriations, and especially China and India. Gold is highly sought after there among the general population, but you know, it's becoming more and more desired even in the West. And I think that's a good thing. People are realizing, especially with the volatility of cryptocurrencies, how much gold is certainly desired these days. So, very interesting story on science, and a multitude of gratitude to those who sent this to me, this information. And I would also like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch this video, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and after all of that, while you're still here, well, you can subscribe.